Hi everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. Today I want to talk to you about something that many parents get confused about when it comes to planning for their children's future. And that is the difference between protecting your child's education and funding your child's education. These two things sound very similar, but in reality, they serve two completely different purposes. And the truth is, both of them are critically important if you want to ensure your children's education is secured no matter what happens. Let's start with the first concept, protecting your child's education. When we talk about protecting education, we are referring to education insurance policies. These are policies designed to step in and pay for your child's education if something happens to you as a parent. Typically, these policies will pay out in one of the following circumstances. Firstly, if the parent passes away, if the parent becomes permanently disabled, and if the parent suffers a severe illness that affects their ability to work. In other words, these policies are not designed to fund education under normal circumstances. They exist to protect your child against the financial risk of something happening to you as a parent. Let's think about it this way. Your child's education depends largely on your ability to earn an income. If something happens to that income, the question becomes, who will pay for your child's schooling and university fees? That is exactly the risk that education protection policies are designed to solve. But whenever I explain this to parents, I almost always get the same question. They ask, but what happens if nothing happens to me? And that is a very fair question. Because if everything goes according to plan, which of course we all hope does, the education protection policy may never pay out. In most cases, these policies simply expire when the child reaches adulthood, usually around the age of 18. Which leads us to the second concept, making provision for your child's education. Making provision for education is something completely different. This is where you actively save and invest money so that you have funds available when your child eventually goes to university. This could be done through many different vehicles. It could be done through a unit trust investment, a tax-free savings account, an education investment plan, or any other long-term investment strategy. The purpose here is not to protect against risk. The purpose is to accumulate capital over time so that when university arrives, you actually have the money available to pay for it. And this is where many parents unintentionally make a mistake. They often choose only one of these strategies instead of implementing both. Why do you need both? If you only invest money to fund education, there is a problem. Let's say your child is currently 5 years old and you start investing for the university education. If something happens to you in the next few years, the investment would not yet have had enough time to grow. The amount accumulated may be far too small to pay for 12 years of schooling and tertiary education. This is exactly where education protection policies becomes crucial, because they step in immediately and cover those costs. But the reverse problem is also true. If you only have education protection insurance and nothing happens to you, then the policy will never pay out. And when your child eventually goes to university, the responsibility to pay those fees will still come from your own income and savings. This is why the smartest strategy is always a combination of both protection and provision. Protection ensures that your child's education continues even if life takes an unexpected turn. Provision ensures that if everything goes well, which we hope it does, you actually have money available to fund a university education. As a final thought, as parents, we cannot control everything that happens in life, but what we can control is how well prepared we are. Making sure your child's education is both protected and properly funded is one of the most responsible financial decisions a parent can make. Because education is one of the greatest gifts we can give our children, and it should never be left vulnerable to life's uncertainties. Thank you for listening, and until next time, land the plan.